Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for being here. Will you join me in thanking the Oregon 234th Army Band? And don't worry, you'll be hearing more from them as our celebration goes on. My name is Sue Miller, and I am the chair of the Oregon Community Foundation Board, so I get the honor of emceeing this luncheon today. And we are here to celebrate, and a lot of what we want to celebrate is you, because you are the Community Foundation. That's why we're called Community. It's a community of citizens in Oregon. And please start eating your lunch if you haven't already, because we're just going to roll right on with our program. There's a lot of red in the room today, you may have noticed. For any of you who have celebrated a 40th wedding anniversary, you will know you're supposed to give your significant other rubies. Well, oh. Sorry if some of you missed that important notice. Well, today we are celebrating the Oregon Community Foundation's 40th, and I'm sorry to say we're not handing out rubies, but we thought we would sort of have that remembrance as part of our atmosphere. It is your contributions of time, energy, brain power that really make Oregon, Oregon, and that have allowed Oregon to change and to do its best to meet increasing challenges, but also to find innovative ways of dealing with that. And I encourage you to look at the chalkboard that's out there and look at some of the wonderful comments that people today have put there, and you will see that there's lots of inspiration as far as Oregon today and in the future. I have personally witnessed the difference that OCF makes in the lives of children and families throughout the state. 17 years ago, child abuse rates were skyrocketing in Marion and Polk counties. A group of us came together, just a small group of concerned citizens, saying, we have to do something about this. What shall we do? And what we found is that there was a great model in the state. Many of you may have heard of the relief nursery model. And we decided that that's what we wanted to do. We needed to form a relief nursery for Marion and Polk counties. But of course, to form a new nonprofit when we had no money and, most importantly, no credibility, created some real challenges. So we knew that the Oregon Community Foundation had had a long history of supporting early childhood programs and helping relief nurseries get started throughout the state. So I called, of course, who do you call 17 years ago at OCF? Greg Chalet, right? So I called Greg, I told him what we were trying to do and asked if he thought OCF could help us. Well, long story short, we applied for a community grant. We were successful and we launched, and now that program serves over 1,000 children a year. So I'm guessing many of you in this room today have had that same experience with the Oregon Community Foundation helping you meet community needs. And aren't we fortunate to have such an organization? I would now like to introduce my fellow board members on the foundation board, and we are scattered sort of up here. So I'll start over here. Of course, I can't see anything because of the light. So we'll start with Trish Smith, who's from Bend, Central Oregon. Sue Namas, from our representative from Medford, Southern Oregon. Corinne Oishi from Forest Grove. Kay Turan from Portland. Dwayne McDougall from Lake Oswego. Oh, over here. Tim Mabry from Hermiston. Over here. Duncan Wise from Portland. Mike Coughlin from Eugene. And Hal Snow from Astoria. Very good. There are a few other people I'd like to recognize, and I really, really want you to stand up when I read a group of people that you belong to. So please, please do that. If there are former board members here, will you please stand up? I would also like, and please stay standing, former board members. I'd also like our former wonderful President CEO, Greg Chalet, to stand up. And then I would also, while you all stay standing, I'd also like to ask OCF staff to stand up, whether you're current staff or former staff. Thank you. We would not be where we are today without every one of those people helping in our past. So thank you. I'm going to introduce our board member Sue Namas now from Southern Oregon, and she, among many other duties on our board, is the chair of our new Arts Committee. So please join me in welcoming Sue Namas.
Thank you, Sue. Hello, everyone. It's wonderful to be here with you to celebrate this 40th anniversary and our continuing work to make Oregon an even more amazing place to live. I am one lucky person. I'm on the Oregon Community Foundation Arts Committee. I work alongside passionate and creative Oregonians committed to making a rich life for all of us. The arts help create healthy, vibrant communities everywhere they are nurtured. While our committee takes their role very seriously, I have to be honest, we have an awful lot of fun. We have a pretty creative group with no shortage of ideas on good ways to support arts and culture in Oregon, but we are currently focused on 3: increasing arts education for school children, encouraging the creation of new works, and making sure that small arts and culture organizations get the support they need to flourish. Just this morning, the OCF board approved 18 multi-year grants for our brand new Studio to School program. This group of 18 grantees has 5 years of funding to design and implement arts education programs for underserved youth throughout the state, projects that can be both sustained and replicated. We all know there are many talented Oregonians. So when the board started planning today's celebration, we thought what better way to celebrate our 40th anniversary and all of you who are at the heart of this work than with some rousing music from the Oregon 234th Army Band. Joining them later, an amazing musician and worldwide talent, a man who calls Oregon home, a man who brings voices together wherever he goes, and my fellow OCF Arts Committee member, Thomas Lauderdale. And now, get ready, it's the Oregon 234th Army Band.
We're going to let the band eat lunch. Novel idea. And they'll be back. They will be back. What a great way to kick off a 40th anniversary. We are very, very fortunate to have the 234th Army Band with us today. I would now like to welcome to the stage another fellow board member, Tim Mabry. In your program it says that Eric Parsons will be coming here, but unfortunately he was unable to attend the luncheon at the last minute. So we appreciate Tim filling in for Eric. Tim is from Hermiston, so he travels a long way to come to board meetings, and it doesn't deter him from signing up for 5 different board committees in addition to the board of directors. So this is a hardworking, dedicated OCF volunteer. Will you please join me in welcoming Tim?
Thank you, Sue. Good afternoon. It's an honor to be here with all of you today to celebrate OCF's legacy, a legacy in which every person in this room is a part. You know, legacy is a very important word. It can mean the ability to look not only at the needs today, but also what will be needed in the future. The desire to set an example that others can follow, and the understanding that what we do today will forever affect what our world is like tomorrow. It is quite an accomplishment that OCF's founders created a legacy that answers each of these. They knew that they couldn't predict what Oregon's needs would be in the future, so they created a foundation that could balance the issues of today with a flexible structure to support the needs of tomorrow, whatever those needs might be. And they knew that the power of setting good examples, the legacy of giving back, is indeed being passed down from parents to children, from business owners to employees, from neighbor to neighbor. But perhaps the greatest accomplishment OCF's founders was realizing that to make the decisions today in a way that would help the state for generations, the Oregon Community Foundation would need to first represent the entire state. For 40 years, OCF board members, volunteers, and staff have worked hard to put Oregon in the Oregon Community Foundation, to create a truly statewide foundation bringing people together through shared values and actions across geography and demographics. And the foundation needed to represent the power of community philanthropy. The idea that philanthropy could be shared by hundreds, even thousands of Oregonians, that philanthropists are not just those sitting in the biggest office on the top floors of building, but it's all of us working together at whatever level we can to make the state a better place. Let me give you an example of what that community philanthropy means when it's put into action. It's what we call the power of endowment. The Hugh H. Starkweather Fund is one of our oldest funds. It was created in 1976 with a gift of $130,000 to offer comfort to senior citizens in Clackamas County. Since its creation, more than $400,000 has been distributed in grants through that fund. And today, the Starkweather Fund is worth $390,000. So that fund has granted out 3 times its original value and grown to 3 times its original value, ensuring ensuring that it will always benefit the community. This is a great example of the power of endowment. There are hundreds of other stories just like this one, and it is through these stories that the foundation will continue to have a significant impact in our state. And it is thanks to each of you in this room today that OCF has created a legacy of support that is unparalleled. Together, we're creating a vibrant Oregon that values community, that supports generosity, and that speaks to the common good. An Oregon that we can all be proud to call home. Thank you for being with us today. Back to you, Sue.
Thank you, Tim. You are part of the OCF legacy. I would now invite you to turn your attention to the screens, and we're going to have a short video rendition of our first 40 years.
What makes a good Oregonian? Is it our appreciation of the land we live on? Our low-impact commutes? Our love of the outdoors and of our neighbors? At the Oregon Community Foundation, we know a lot of good Oregonians. 40 years ago, OCF was founded by a few of them who decided to give back to the state that gave them so much. Today, those founders would be proud because, as it turns out, lots of other Oregonians liked that idea and decided to pitch in. Through the generosity of our many donors, what started as a modest gift is now a lasting endowment for people and nonprofits statewide. Over the years, donors have trusted OCF's efficiency and flexibility in using their funds to improve people's lives. Through dental care for kids, art and education programs for teens, job training for youth and adults, and much more. Our volunteers make the connections that help us address the issues that matter most, and our partners leverage our dollars for greater impact. Oregon's big on giving, both time and money. We're only the 27th largest state, but have one of the largest community foundations. Pair that with OCF's reputation, and just look what we can do. So what's next? Imagine an Oregon where every student graduates high school, where every family has enough to eat, and our land is honored and protected. This is our state. This is our chance. Now is the time. We're making it happen together with the same bright spirit as 40 years ago. OCF, here for Oregon, here for good. Thanks to some good Oregonians.
A lot has happened in 40 years, and much of that is because of many of you in this room today and thousands of others across our state. So, it's very exciting. I am now delighted to introduce Jaime Aguirre, who is a well-respected community leader in Central Oregon, in Bend. If any of you have dropped by Ginger's Kitchenware in the Old Mill District in Bend, Ginger is Jaime's wife. So Jaime and Ginger own and operate the kitchenware business. In addition to being a business owner, Jaime also is very involved in OCF. He's a member of our Leadership Council in Central Oregon, and he also has provided leadership in starting the first Central Oregon Latino Scholarship Fund, which is a very exciting program and growing in Central Oregon. So please join me in welcoming Jaime.
I keep hearing a voice that suggests that I leave this community in a better place than how I found it. It's that same voice that tells me what I do today has a significant impact on what we can do tomorrow. And then there's that thought that creeps in: account for the needs of others, consider the advancement of our community and the greater good of the state of Oregon. And then I can help build a more cohesive community where all of us are valued for our individual contributions. Opportunities arise when new ideas result from circumstances that warrant change. Just a few months ago, I was approached by a local Rotary International member. They were seeking for an opportunity to create positive change in the lives of Central Oregon Latinos. Now, many Rotarians in our community were unaware of the needs of these, let's just say, invisible neighbors. A vision to improve work skills and change an element of life for Central Oregonians was born. A new relationship was established, and $13,000 later, we took steps towards building a better community by creating a computer skills training program and the equipment and resources necessary to support that. We renew the mindset of legacy organizations such as Rotary International by reintroducing ourselves when we listen to that voice. Legacy and leadership is born with the creation of the Central Oregon Latino Scholarship Fund to help overcome the financial barrier to advanced education. It's a project very personal to me because as the son of a farm and restaurant migrant worker, as a graduate of UCLA, as a former Verizon public affairs manager, and as a small business owner, I learned about legacy and philanthropy through the generosity of organizations like the League of United Latin American Citizens, Optimist International, and Rotary International. I hope I've made good on their investment to support me through my education. Good afternoon, my name is Jaime Aguirre. Spanish is my first language. English is the vehicle that I use to create change. What is the voice of the Oregon Community Foundation? Sharing the stories of leaders and building bridges. Teaching acceptance and empathy, and creating a vehicle for greater community involvement. OCF understands segregation or self-isolation, whether economic, social, or cultural, is destructive to the health of our communities. That sense of knowing, the act of listening, having awareness begins to connect us as true communities of intention. I borrow this thought of the intentional community. OCF has created that opportunity for us as residents of the state to create intent. And then what happens is that unavoidable question: are we bystanders or do we act? OCF teaches us to be active leaders. Because of opportunities created through OCF, we see Central Oregonians serving on boards of education, expanding dual immersion programs, supporting the needs of youth who struggle with the traditional academic system, all with the intent to create skilled labor and supporting local economic development efforts. And that is only accounting for those members in our community who volunteer and support the Central Oregon Latino Partnership Project. OCF can, with greater support, listen to that voice, which drives us towards funding projects in sustainable living, personal and cultural transformation, as well as a broad range of projects that improve our communities on the basis of explicit common values. Of OCF funding in Central Oregon, 13% of the discretionary funds went to programs aimed at improving access to education and involving communities and parents in education. 7% of discretionary funds went to programs whose funding objective was youth mentoring. And then again, there's that voice. What we do today will have a significant impact on what can be done tomorrow. It reminds me of a story. I was working for public affairs some 20 years ago. I'm a UCLA graduate, as I mentioned previously. I was assigned to host the former vice chancellor of the University of Southern California. And many of you will understand that Bruins and Trojans get along about as well as ducks and beavers. This gentleman in his 70s, in an event not unlike this, took me aside and began to relate his life story. He began to relate his professional career. And he said, "Where are you now?" He started engaging and asking a lot of questions about my personal life, about my pending nuptials, about my career. And then he said, "In order to create a lasting impression, you must be uncomfortable with that place in your life. I must be uncomfortable with that place in my life." And that launched me onto a career in telecommunications and giving thought to everything that I do related to work or personal life and creating a lasting impression. Like communities, building leaders takes time. Building leaders takes intention. Building leaders takes listening to that voice that tells us we all have something to contribute. Max, members of the board of directors, and OCF staff, thank you for the opportunity to be part of the program today.
Thank you, Jaime, for your inspiring leadership and your voice. I am now very pleased to welcome the Oregon Poet Laureate, Paulann Petersen. Although Paulann was born in Portland, she spent 31 years in Klamath Falls. Inspired by the landscape, she began writing poetry in her 20s and has never stopped. Paulann has given hundreds of readings across the world, actually, internationally, and she also teaches workshops for colleges, high schools, and writers' organizations. We are truly blessed to have our Oregon Poet Laureate with us today, so please join me in welcoming Paulann Petersen.
Thank you for that kind introduction. And I thank the assigner of places at the tables today. I don't know how I got to be so fortunate, but I am at the LPP and Latino Leadership Fun table. That's not the Leadership Fund table, that's the Leadership Fund table. Oregon Community Foundation, who are you? You are donors, you are recipients, you are volunteers, you are administrators. And let's forget the dry denotation of that word administrator, as in a manager, an overseer. Let's go to the very heart of the word administrator, which is to ministrate, to minister, to serve. An OCF administrator serves the cause of philanthropy. Donor, recipient, volunteer, administrator, you all serve. You all serve to advance the OCF intergenerational philanthropic ethic, an ethic of compassion and generosity. Oregon Community Foundation, what do you do? Who do you serve? You support arts education, student scholarships, adult education programs, outdoor schools, affordable housing, river conservancy, numbers upon numbers of programs all over Oregon, all over Oregon. And Oregon is big. I'm a native Oregonian, a lifelong Oregon resident. When I was first appointed Poet Laureate in 2010, I'd already seen a great deal of our state. But as Poet Laureate, I had the privilege and honor to give presentations, readings, workshops, keynotes in all of Oregon's 36 counties. I visited many Oregon spots I'd never been to before. Our Earth's circumference is 24,902 miles. As Oregon's Poet Laureate, I traveled well over 26,000 miles within Oregon's boundaries giving presentations. As Poet Laureate, I can say I circled the world inside Oregon. And I don't mean merely in terms of the number of miles. Oregon itself is a vast and marvelously varied world. I've always felt fortunate to be an Oregonian. My 4 years of being your ambassador for poetry made me know even more just how lucky that is. As your Poet Laureate, I've traveled to, I've seen, I've given presentations in all the counties buoyed and enriched, improved by the work of Oregon Community Foundation. I've seen how OCF is at work all over Oregon. Oregon Community Foundation. Your very name tells your story. In his justly famous play, Romeo and Juliet, Act 2, Scene 2, William Shakespeare has Juliet ask, "What's in a name? What's in a name?" Yes, Oregon Community Foundation, what's in your name? Well, here's a poem from this Oregon bard. Here's my poem that answers the question, what's in the name Oregon Community Foundation? My poem's title is Your Name in Full. It has a dedication for OCF on the occasion of your 40th anniversary, May 7th, 2014. That would be your Ruby Jubilee. In my poem, I speak directly to you, directly to OCF. Your name in full. You begin by taking your first name, from what we all gratefully call home, Oregon, our place, our state in the beauty of mountain, high plateau, river valley, sagebrush flat, rock-rimmed coastline. Oregon is your given name, you who do the good work of giving. Your last name notes what holds us steady, foundation, our footing, our roots, what keeps us firm. For 4 decades, you've been a foundation on which we can build. What's at your name's center? Your heart. Community is your middle name. Commonweal, the good of all, is what you value most. Compassion and generosity pulse at your very core. Thank you, OCF donors and recipients and volunteers and administrators for 40 years of service. Thank you, OCF, for being the Oregon Foundation with community at its very heart. Thank you.
Wow, that was fabulous. That will obviously be a very key part of our legacy of the last 40 and really kicking off the next 40 years as well. It's now my great pleasure to introduce to you our fearless leader at the Oregon Community Foundation, our president and CEO, Max Williams. Max is in his third year. Max is in his third year as president, and I can't tell you how many times all of us on the board have been told the most brilliant move we have made is hiring this man to be our leader. So he will now present the state of the foundation. Max Williams.
It would be tempting to just stop with Paulann's poem. I heard that. I hope you had a chance, or you take just a moment to look at that card on your table. It was a little table exercise we hope you'd participate in. As OCF celebrates its 40th anniversary, community foundations around the country are celebrating their 100th anniversary. There are now more than 740 community foundations nationally, all with the common goal of developing charitable resources for the purposes of creating lasting legacy, exercising civic leadership, and fostering greater impact in communities coast to coast. We are proud to celebrate what Oregon donors have done in the last 40 years and where we are today as Oregon's Community Foundation, with a mission to improve life in Oregon and to promote effective philanthropy. It's now my pleasure to provide for you a very brief State of the Foundation report. Consider this OCF's report to shareholders, if you will, because we consider all of you shareholders, whether you are donors or community members, professional advisors, our fellow foundations that have joined to celebrate with us today, individual philanthropists, or the nonprofits that our donors support. One and all, you are shareholders of OCF's mission. We ended 2013 with more than $1.5 billion in assets and more than 1,800 funds under management. Thanks to a solid first quarter, our asset base is now at $1.6 billion. In 2013, we assisted Oregonians in establishing 122 new charitable funds at OCF. And of course, we didn't do that alone. Our donors, our volunteers, and many professional advisors across the state have connected family, friends, and their clients to OCF. And it is, of course, what these funds do that really makes the difference. Let me share a few fun examples. In Baker County, Edna Harrell set up a Field of Interest Fund to improve the lives of underprivileged children in her community. In Corvallis, Alan Brown created a fund to support programs that inspire students in STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And to memorialize their son, Greg Lane's parents set up a fund to support student field trips at Bonanza High School in rural Klamath County. These are just small examples of tremendous Oregonians who are using the platform of OCF to change their communities. Last year, OCF distributed nearly $70 million in grants and scholarships. We provided scholarships to more than 2,100 students across the state as just one of the elements of OCF's effort to address both access and affordability for Oregon students. Allow me to share with you just one powerful example of a scholarship story. This from the recently created Fred Field Scholarship Fund at OCF, which serves students at all 17 Oregon community colleges. At PCC, the scholarship was awarded to Mohammed Hussein. He grew up in Somalia and lived as a refugee in Kenya. He credits his first English teacher at PCC with ultimately inspiring him to succeed. Mohammed is now married, has a child, a full-time job, a 3.9 GPA, and is working towards a 4-year degree in electrical engineering technology. The Field Scholarship is just one small piece of supporting affordability for higher education, but for Mohammed and for all of Oregon, it will produce significant returns, and it typifies the literally thousands of similar grants and scholarships that are changing lives through donors' funds that have been established at OCF. OCF grants in 2013 went to nearly 2,400 nonprofits, providing important work across an entire range of services, from supporting children's dental health to strengthening families, building capacity for early childhood education and protecting children, supporting cancer research, enhancing community livability through the arts, preserving Oregon's most special places, and investing in leadership and achievement of Oregon's minority communities, and so much more. I hope you will take a copy of our annual report and review the list, and I hope you are as excited about what OCF's donors are doing in this state as we are. You heard Tim talk about legacy and the power of endowment, and you heard Jaime talk about leadership and how philanthropy can be a catalyst for change in convening courageous conversations and advocating for better outcomes. And now it's my pleasure to introduce OCF board member Corrine Oishi, who will share some thoughts on the third theme of our celebration today, which is impact. Please welcome Corrine to the podium.
Welcome. Thank you for all being here. I can't, in fact, I don't want to be redundant because so many of the examples that I wanted to use have already been presented to you. So I'm going to shorten what I'm going to say. For OCF, philanthropic impact is really the power that connects the donor funds to the nonprofits. It is our willingness to want to make a change, to make a difference, to offer opportunities to all Oregonians. I think Max really just let us know about all the scholarships that were awarded last year. In April, the Education Committee just approved $7.3 million for scholarship funds for the 2014-2015 school year. This will be selected by 1,000 volunteers serving on community committees, and will go to approximately 2,500 students for next year. So the legacy goes on. It is this collaboration between donor funds, volunteers who are willing to serve, but ultimately it goes to the students. And I think that we all at our heart want it to land in some individual's life to make a difference. We also work in collaboration with our other funding partners, and I'd like to just call out the Foundation for a Better Oregon, with the founding members being the Collins Foundation, the Ford Family Foundation, the Gerald Wen Foundation, Meyer Memorial Trust, and the James F. and Marion L. Miller Foundation, which first came together to look at the K-12 public education 10 years ago. They focused on teacher effectiveness. And in April, we again approved our part of this ongoing work to help Chalkboard fund with the state funds the Teach Oregon initiatives. They have worked on the class initiative for teacher effectiveness, and they have also added 23 other foundations to collaborate in this work. It's work that's done by philanthropy. It's not work, there's a gap, and so you are filling it with your funds, your work, your research, and that's just one other way that you have impact. And the very last one is how we're all very, very focused on children and education. And over the last 10 years, the Oregon Community Foundation, through its staff, has created the Oregon Parenting Education Collaborative. 4 years ago, we started to fund hubs, which help change the systems, help deliver parenting education to help children arrive ready to learn in schools. Along with those funds, the Betty Gray Scholarship Program has given money to the community colleges to educate early childhood providers and teachers, and together the Education Committee was able to approve about $2.1 million to support that work. This is what philanthropic impact means. And the arc of all of this begins in every heart, in every person that's sitting in this room, and it extends across the state, and it is what philanthropic impact is all about. And we at the Oregon Community Foundation actually thank you for your engagement, for your participation, and for your caring about the state. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Corrine. Well, before we start looking forward, I want to take just one more minute to look back over our 40 years. So I hope you did take a minute to look at this little card with a map and some names of some Oregon towns on your table. After 40 years, the Oregon Community Foundation, we decided how we wanted to test how we had done at being Oregon's community foundation. So we painstakingly went back to the paper records and searched to see how we had served Oregon's communities geographically. Now, it's not the only measure of our success, but we were able to determine that there were only 13 both inhabited and incorporated Oregon communities where after 40 years, OCF had not made either a grant or a scholarship. That's the list of those 13 communities that's at your table. Now, I'd like to know how many of you knew where they were all and got it all right? Did you pass your Oregon geography test? Have they put the map up already? Well, today I am pleased to announce to you that OCF's board is awarding special grants to all 13 of those communities. This award will be for the benefit of their citizens, and it will round out for Oregon and the Oregon Community Foundation the last 40 years of grant making. But more importantly, it signals, I hope, a commitment by OCF to continue our efforts to serve all Oregon communities, whether these communities are defined by geography, by culture, or by circumstance. We can't predict with certainty what the next 10 or 20 or 40 years will hold for Oregon, but we do know that there will be significant challenges and significant opportunities ahead. We take this moment to recommit ourselves to our mission, to improve life in Oregon and to promote effective philanthropy. And over the next 40 years, we intend to continue to build a legacy by working with our donors in a way that supports and sustains Oregon's nonprofit sector and provides an effective platform for philanthropy. We commit to expand OCF's leadership in addressing Oregon's challenges by using all of our tools: grant-making, volunteers, convening, civic engagement, and advocacy, and we commit to enhance our impact through collaboration and partnership, and by deepening our investments in research and evaluation to ensure that we are leveraging all of those resources for that maximum impact. We are optimistic about the future of the Oregon Community Foundation, and we are optimistic about the future of Oregon, and we appreciate that you have joined us today to celebrate this important milestone, because it is as much a celebration of all of your efforts as it is of ours. I hope you visited the nonprofit partner tables in the lobby, and that you did get a chance to put something up on the legacy chalk wall. If not, would encourage you to do so before you leave. But we're not quite through. Now, I'm pretty sure that as good as the salad was, most of you didn't come for the food. And I hope some of you came to hear about what we were doing at the Oregon Community Foundation and what we hope to be doing in the future. But I'm willing to bet that the majority of you came to hear one of Oregon's most creative talents. So here to help us out with some music, and I see the band's all lined up and ready to take their seats, please welcome Thomas Lauderdale and the 234th Army Band for their first ever joint performance of Rhapsody in Blue. Thank you for coming. Please stay and enjoy this important Oregon milestone of entertainment.
Wow, happy 40th to Oregon and OCF. Everybody have a great afternoon. Thank you again, Army Band and Thomas Lauderdale.